On the line right now with my buddy Darian Townsend out in Tucson, Arizona. How are things going today, Darian?
Very good, thanks, Mike. Just got back into Tucson this morning. I was away in Wisconsin the last part of last week with some clinics and a meet out there, and then swam a masters meet up in Tempe yesterday. So I just got back and glad to be back home.
Certainly been an exciting few weeks for you, Darian. I mean, you've broken a whole bunch of Masters World Records at two different meets. You had an outstanding showing at the Minnesota Grand Prix. Tell me, how is Master Swimming fitting into your overall program?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far, and I kind of wish I'd joined a bit earlier. But yeah, I joined this year in August, and I've actually been training with the Masters crew here in Tucson, the Tucson Ford Masters group. So it's a whole bunch more social than I would say normal swimming is. The Masters crew are great to be around there. They're a happy bunch. They're always joking around, but they also work hard. Jim Stites, our coach here, he works us hard on a daily basis. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I'm part of Masters Swimming.
Well, I think that's it's really cool. It seems like it's keeping it fresh for you. I've watched you, and I think we talked a little bit after the summer, and it seems like this is kind of a nice recipe for your charge for the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, all swimming kind of works on a 4 year cycle. One Olympics and then 4 years later another Olympics, and it's easy to kind of get a little bit I don't know, like burnt out or just mentally tired of the normal kind of grind when it comes to swimming. So the masters swimming for me has kind of it's shifted my focus a little bit away from that and given me a good distraction. And at the same time, I'm still training hard and I'm still competing. So for me, it's been great. And also, the two meets that I've swum have also been short course meters, which is something in the US that is not done a lot of. It's all either yards or long course meters. So it's something that I can relate to. Growing up in South Africa, we didn't do yards; it was all short course meters. So for me, it's a little bit easier to kind of gauge where I am when I'm actually swimming short course meters.
Darian, tell us a little bit about this clinic and this coaching that you've been up to. That's one of the things that I've seen you in action. We've seen you out here in San Diego, I've seen you out there in Tucson. You're really an adept coach. What's do you credit that to? And tell us about your coaching and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I started coaching in January this year. If coaching is something I've been wanting to get into, and I know I want to get into when I'm actually done competing. So I decided to start my coaching career. In between the Olympic years, like I said, you want to have some distractions. You don't want to just be totally focused the whole time. And coaching, even though I'm still involved in the sport, it's kind of given me a new perspective on my swimming. So it's something I've wanted to do. And like I said, I started in January, and I've absolutely loved it. My mom is a swimming lesson teacher in South Africa, so she's the one who actually taught me to swim, and I can probably credit a lot of that to kind of being around her, learning from her, just watching her coach on the side, and so I think coaching is kind of in my blood, and I know when I eventually hang up my goggles one day, I do want to get into coaching. So this was a great opportunity for me here in Tucson to kind of get my feet wet, with the coaching and. One day, hopefully, I'll be coaching at a high level at a college somewhere in the US here.
Well, you brought something interesting into the mix there. What was it, or is it about coaching that kind of informs you about your own swimming?
Yeah, so it's just a different perspective. I've always been in the water my whole life and kind of looking up a deck at a coach explaining something to me, and now having the roles reversed, being the guy explaining to someone in the water. You know, when I see somebody in training and I'm trying to correct them doing something, for me sometimes it's difficult to get through to them exactly what I'm trying to explain. And for me, being swim in the water, I know I've had issues in the past of understanding a coach what they were getting at, and now from the coach's perspective, I can see how difficult it is in the water to sometimes learn a new skill or change something you've been doing for so long. So I'm kind of learning from both ends now, being a swimmer and a coach. The kind of difficulties of swimming and changing technique and getting things right. So I think it's definitely helped me in my training. Now when I'm swimming in a set or trying something new in practice, I kind of think back to what I was telling other kids. If I'm telling them something, maybe the next day I come to practice and I try that for myself, and I'm finding that I'm able to coach myself that way a little bit easier too.
Well, Now, Darian, other times sort of shifting gears here. Another big announcement on your side is that you have a new club affiliation with the New York Athletic Club. Tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, so I was Matt Teague, who's kind of he's my agent here in the US. He kind of mentioned that New York were interested in talking to me about possibly representing them, and I was very interested. And the kind of deal we got together worked really well for me and what I want to do. Obviously, I want to try stay in Arizona and be training here, and New York were totally fine with that. I think most of their athletes, or at least pro athletes that they have signed up through the club, don't actually train in New York. They train in different parts of the country. And then we come together for the Grand Prix, and we'll come together for nationals and swim together. So, and when I had a look at who they had on board swimming for them, there were some huge names. And for me to be involved with New York Athletic Club, which is such a prestigious name here in the US, and also with the swimmers they had on board, I said sure, I said yes for sure. I'd like to be a part of it, and I'm just honored to be able to swimming with them and be swimming with the New York Athletic Club.
Well, speaking of some of the big names, I mean, there are Arcani's on the team. Who are some of the others that are there? And have you guys gotten a chance to talk with one another?
Yeah, so I kind of met up with Arcady at the Minnesota Grand Prix, and he's a great swimmer. The first time I noticed him was in 2008. He actually had to do a swim off to get into the final for the 200 backstroke in Beijing, and he ended up, I think, getting second or third in that. And he was actually winning that until the last couple meters, until I think Pearsall caught him. So there's Arcady, there's Adam Brown, who trains out in Auburn. There are a couple other big sprinters. I know Mark Gangloff was involved with them for a while. So I'm just excited, to be able to kind of hang out with those guys at meets that we go to, and also eventually when we're all attached to the club, we'll be swimming some relays together at nationals, and at the Grand Prix. And I think if you look at the caliber of swimmer they've signed, I think we have some pretty good relays that we can definitely kind of challenge for national titles when it comes to national swimming.
No, then that's certainly a whole lot of fun when you're having that to go after. Uh, Darian, you have had a tremendous career and a long career. Right? You're 29 years old, and you've been in this sport for a long, long time, and you've done some wonderful things, and now you're doing great things in masters. What do you attribute your success to, and what are some of the things that are helping you to be able to do what you want to do?
I think growing up in South Africa, I had a really great coach, Wayne Ridden, in Pietermaritzburg. There, he was always more focused on quality over quantity, and I think that kind of throughout my career has enabled me to keep swimming on. I've been blessed not to have many injuries in my life. I've never really had shoulder issues or anything related to swimming, so that's never been an issue for me. And I really think the way he taught us good technique growing up, it's kind of enabled me to swim longer in life and not have these injuries that sometimes end careers, especially as you get older. And then I think just looking after myself, like I said, I've learned a good technique when I was younger, so I've had no injuries. But I think away from the pool, and even in the pool in the weight room, I work out hard, but I'm very careful about what I do. An injury would probably end my career right now, so I don't take chances with that kind of stuff. But just generally looking after myself and always researching stuff before you do it, that kind of stuff, I think has enabled me to swim as long as I've been swimming.
Well, I think a big testament to that was seeing not only you've had these tremendous success in these Masters meets, but at the Minnesota Grand Prix on the last day, you won the 200 IM and then came back 20 minutes later or so with a phenomenal 100 freestyle. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, that was a little surprising. I'd swum pretty decent throughout the meet. I was in the A finals. I kept getting around fourth or fifth in the A finals for some of the events I swam. And I'm a swimmer that always gets better as the meet goes on. My first maybe day or two, I tend to, I don't know, not get into the meet as quickly as some of the others. But then as the meet goes on, I tend to get better with the racing. So come that third day, I had the 200 AM and 100 free, and I knew there wasn't a lot of time between them, especially at night. They were pretty much back to back. And I did the IM, and I was super happy to come away with the win. And the time was also really good for that part of the season. And then 20 minutes later, stand up and do a 100 freestyle in a pretty good field of guys. Cesar Sierra was there, Adam Brown ended up winning it. And there were a couple, Connor Dwyer was in it, there were a couple of Russians. So it was a stellar field of guys. And I was happy to do the last 10 yards. When I got a bit tired, but the time 42.8 for that part of the season and that timing after the IM was very encouraging for me.
Well, Darian, as you sort of close out 2013 into 2014, what are some of the things that are on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so I got nationals in 2 weeks. That'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a really good meet. It's short course yards again, which suits me. And then 2 weeks after that, I've got the Oklahoma Pro Am. The Chesapeake meet there in Oklahoma City. I swam it last year for the first time, and it's a great meet. It's a really really fun meet. So I'll be hanging out there with a couple pros and hanging out there for the week. And then yeah, Christmas, and then I think then the Grand Prix start again early next year. So there's no real off season at all nowadays when it comes to swimming. So as soon as the pro am's done, I'll go back straight into some hard training, and then it's all about long course season. So probably get back in the pool and do some good workouts before we really get into the long course season.
And I wish you just nothing but continued success as you wrap out the year. You seem happy and fresh. And I certainly look forward to the next time our paths cross.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike.